Welcome to the Hey Soul Sista podcast, where Mel Histon will guide you through life's big questions and bring you one step closer to doing this crazy journey as best you can.
Hey Soul Sisters. People say that growing old is a privilege, and yet it seems as though so many of us try to fight ageing, both men and especially women. And even though we all age, men and women, research shows that it's women, not men, who face ageism. Increasingly, ageism is hitting home for vibrant, talented women of a certain age who arguably feel the sting in their personal, social and professional lives. In a 2019 article in The Atlantic called The Invisibility of Older Women, author Akiko Bush writes, "The invisible woman might be the actor no longer offered roles after her 40th birthday, or the 50-year-old woman who can't land a job interview." So how does society expect midlife women and beyond to spend their next 3, 4, or even 5 decades? Well, there's no simple answer to that question. One thing is certain: the invisibility factor is real and it needs to change. Today, in the Hey Soul Sista studio, Newcastle podcast station, I have the fabulous Charlotta Thaarup with me. Hello, my friend, Miss Charlotta.
Hello.
Now, for those of you who don't know Charlotta, which would be crazy because she's on Hey Soul Sista a lot, she's the founder and director of the Mindfulness Clinic, international speaker, a writer, and my mindfulness guru.
I'm loving it.
Yes. Thank you so much, my friend. So you've been writing about aging and the prejudices that we face as we get older recently, and we've been having conversations around that. Yeah. So we kind of thought, you know what, let's do a podcast episode around that for Hey Soul Sista.
Yeah, and it's such an important topic, isn't it? Because
Absolutely.
it happens to everybody, unless we die.
Yeah.
So it's something that, and I think that there's a lot of fear around it. There's a lot of, it's a bit like menopause. It's sort of the, it's coming towards me. Whereas, you think, wow, what if we could change that relationship? What if we could actually go, this is just another stage, and it has its benefits and its challenges, like all stages.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest, I have fears around aging.
What's your fear?
Well, okay, a couple of things is the whole, I had breast cancer in my mid-30s. I'm now in my second half of my 40s. I've now had a traumatic surgery on my face to have a skin cancer cut off. So I go, oh, wow, all of a sudden there's like these little medical things that pop up as you get older. And I have fear around going, which we've talked about. I hope I don't have to go through this again. I'm now like getting a bit hypervigilant. I'm booking into my GP again to go and get my body checked out, make sure there's nothing else. And certainly I don't like looking at the wrinkles in the mirror. I don't like it. And it's interesting because I know
there's a loss in it.
Yeah. And it's so complex, the whole issue around aging and ageism.
Because I think the first thing you're mentioning is sort of that, will there be pain? Right? There's the pain, and then there is, the ongoing time out, for fixing things or recovering, and I won't be as I was. So there's a loss in energy levels, in wellness perhaps, not for everybody, but for some. And there's a loss in our appearance. And easily we kind of define aging from that perspective of the loss. And we forget about what the gain is. And also, it has to be said that not at all for everybody is there a big decay or,
Yeah.
There is but it isn't necessarily that we age and we start to have a lot of pain or, both my parents are, my mother's 82, my father's 88, and they're not medicated. They walk every day. They are super active. There is absolutely nothing wrong with them, and there is no pains and aches. Yeah. So I'm not saying this to sort of but, it's just that there are lots of counter stories as well.
And it's funny, I did see a podcast, no, not a podcast, it was a TED Talk, and they were talking about aging and living a long and healthy life, and they were saying that actually walking every day is key, keeping moving and walking.
Yes, that's right. Good sleep and walking. And, you can actually just say, I was thinking you can actually just say those. That should be the absolute focus because, yes, of course, not many toxins. You would dial down your alcohol consumption and, eat healthy, etc. But actually, if you're not sleeping well, usually, the first area to look at, well, what are you eating, and are you not moving or moving, and also what's your alcohol consumption. So if you say, well, my main thing is I've got to sleep well and I've got to move, that's a really good place to start. I found something really interesting not so long ago, and that said that post 60, we start to need a little less sleep.
Yeah.
Have you seen that as well?
I have. And I remember my granny, she used to lie awake in the early hours of the night or the morning, and for no particular reason. And, we would talk about that. I used to sneak into her room as a little girl, and she would just say, you know what, I'm awake. I'm not asleep.
Right. It sounds like
for no reason.
Sort of acceptance. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple of theories. One is that the older were the ones who could then keep watch of the tribe. But there's another one that says, that the first 2 hours of sleep is the one where we're kind of doing the basic cleaning of the brain, if you like. And then the rest of the time is integration of what we've learnt with what we've had experience in the past. And young children need to have a lot of sleep because there's so much new learning. But as we age, there's less new learning. And so, therefore, there's not the same need for integration. And I think that kind of makes sense.
I love that you know that. That's actually really interesting.
It is interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
I've never heard that before, but it does totally make sense.
And that means that if we go, okay, so I'm needing a little less sleep, we go, all right, that means the early hours, I might meditate, I might get a good book, I might just lie there like your grandmother, but rather than feel the pressure that I should be sleeping, that if you go down to 7 hours, it might be just fine.
Want to save your soul? Review us on Apple Podcast.
Interestingly, I was listening to Wayne Dyer on YouTube recently, and he was talking about when you wake at 3 a.m, which I do a lot.
Wolf hour.
Yeah, wolf hour. And he said the best thing you can do is meditate. When you wake at 3 a.m, do a meditation. Quiet and write down.
Yeah. And I'd say, dear body. I'd say, put the hand over the heart and just go, dear body, okay, so we're awake. And then accepting that. Because as soon as you have an agenda, even if you're meditating, going, I'm just doing this so I can fall asleep.
Yeah.
Then you're still in resistance. So we have to come into, okay, I'm awake, and that's okay.
So aging is so subjective. I mean, what is old? And when are we old?
Yeah, who knows, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because in a way we go from youthing to maturing to aging, don't we? Do we? And on either side there's sort of birthing and becoming, and then or whatever, and then there's dying. And then so at what point? I had a funny experience with somebody a few years ago. He's an old magistrate here who writes a really good newsletter, and we were doing a little workshop together on blog writing, and he said, I don't know, I don't know if what I can write is really relevant. And I said to him, well, how many old men write their opinion? We need the voice of old men and old women. And he said, I'm not old. He was in his 80s.
Yeah.
So I said, but you are. And he said, no, I'm not. I said, okay, well, that's interesting. It's interesting why we think the word old is bad and why we think the word young is not. Like, it's not a level playing field, right?
Yeah, unless we're talking about wine.
Indeed. Or some cheeses. Yeah, that's right. But otherwise, it's not neutral. So I think we don't want to embrace that idea that I am old. Whereas actually, if we do it, it's okay.
Yeah.
We're certainly older.
Yeah. And it really is subjective. Like, I remember being in my 20s and thinking that turning 30 was so old.
Yes.
So old.
Yes.
And I was depressed having my 30th birthday.
Right?
I know.
Yeah.
My 30th birthday.
Yes. Yes. And now you look at that and you go...
Our eldest son is 27 because, he's the eldest, and our youngest is 21. And he says, can't believe how old I am. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I remember I became a single mum at 29 and, feeling like the old maid at 29.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And now I'm 47. I was like, oh, sister, you are so not old. It is so subjective.
Yeah. And that subjectivity travels with us.
Yeah.
And changes along the way, isn't it?
Because when is old? I'm 47 and, Mel Sarger's in here before and she's 42 and you said, oh, you're a baby. Yeah. You're just a baby.
Yeah.
Not just for you.
Even that conversation just highlights, I think, one of the main things about aging is that it changes our perspective. And I'm really interested in this idea that as a culture, if we don't appreciate that age of more mature people, of aging, whether that be in the workplace or in governing or in families, then we are the poorer for it. It's as simple as that, because it is a perspective that is freer from the day-to-day running of things, from self-interest, right? I mean, Jack Cornfield said at a retreat I did many years ago with him, he said, there are many cultures who believe that the very young and the very old, they're kind of sitting at as the bookends of life, and their experience of God is a little clearer. Right? Because they're not muddled with the busyness of day-to-day bills and children in childcare and working. And I think we need that perspective. You know, that's why we love looking at children, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because of their beautiful sort of pureness and delight around life. And what does the old offer us? What does I sort of think, wow, we should actually have councils, of old people that are referred to in terms of sitting outside government, sitting outside, different organisations and going, what do you think? What do you think? You have a perspective that's much bigger than ours. What do you think?
So I was talking to my friend Jan this morning, and so I think Jan, I haven't actually asked, but she just had a birthday yesterday, and I think she's in her, say, mid-60s. I was telling her that we were recording this topic today. And, of course, she, she was giving me her opinion on the topic, and she said, do you know what? The beauty about getting older is that everything just doesn't seem as big a deal anymore.
No, that's right. That's right.
She said, you don't sweat the small stuff as much. No. It's really not a big deal. Not like when you're I remember when I was in my 20s, everything was a big deal.
Yes, that's right. The intensity of it and the reactivity. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And I look back and I kind of go, it's like you're constantly surveying, judging yourself, judging others. Do I hold up? Do I stand up? I remember being working my way through my career and being really intimidated by a lot of people, whereas, now I'm like, oh, we're all the same. Who really cares?
Right. Isn't that liberating?
It is so liberating.
Yeah. So we can be much more present, isn't it? Rather than we're in our own way, if you like.
And so it was really interesting, hearing Jan talk about that. And I was like, well, it's true. And I go, I'm not fully there yet where I totally don't sweat the small stuff, but I'm much more aware of it now. And it's about capturing the thoughts and going, okay, yeah, I can see they're running away. How do I change that? Whereas in my 20s and even 30s, I didn't have the awareness to do that.
No.
At all.
There's kind of an element of coming into our own skin, even if it isn't as pretty.
Yeah.
Isn't there?
Yeah, and I think as well, so I'm in the second half of my 40s and I've had some shit going in my life. I've had some shit. Yeah, we all have. But, and it's funny, I look at our kids and I go, nothing bad's happened to you yet. We talk about, I guess, the arrogance of youth, which is subjective in itself. But when I look at my kids and I go, it's wonderful. They probably have a little bit of that arrogance of youth, but I'm
naivety.
Nothing's happened to you yet. Whereas by the time I get to a place, it's like I've had cancer, I've been divorced, remarried, become the stepmom, got new friends, lost friends, been fired from a job, all these different things, battles and
cheated.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I suppose you learn to get through those challenges, and I guess you either have to find a way to make peace with where you're at and go, yes, I can get through that, and build your resilience and learn that it's not, in the bigger scheme of life, it's not that big a deal. Whereas, when I look back at my 20s, nothing had really happened to me yet. So everything was a big deal. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It was like the littlest thing was
there wasn't there.
Yeah, absolutely. I have
perspective.
I hope that made sense the way I said that.
Yeah. That when we haven't had our scars yet, we haven't really stretched, and we haven't also really gotten some confidence in ourselves. Because I know when some of the really big shit has happened in my life, it has given me this faith that I can handle shit.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? Things happen and I'm not going to lose the plot. I'll be, unhappy, I'll be a little wobbly, but I'll find my way back. And I think that that's what we realise, and then also we become grateful for the little things when there isn't a drama. I think, one of the things that I notice is that my heart's just more open. Like when I walk, in the mornings, we're so blessed with the nature around here. And, the sun shining on certain, on leaves or whatever, there's just this awe, this bliss, this that, came in little glimpses when I was younger, but more so now. So, and that's why I think of Cornfield's idea of a little closer to God, perhaps because we're not as busy.
I want to get to not as busy. It's on my bucket list. Not be as busy.
That's an oxymoron.
I love it. I just really want to put a big tick against that. Okay, so why do you think it is that women face ageism much more than men?
Oh, I love that question. To go right big, I think it's because we live in a patriarchy society that is captured by being productive. And when women can no longer bear children, we are no longer productive. We are no longer useful from that model. I actually, in thinking about this whole thing, I think that our relationship with aging is so relevant to our relationship with life. If, in those cultures that see life as we are spiritual beings having a human experience, they value their old. They value that because they know they want the input from old people to young people. In our culture, where we think we are just human resources here to produce, to accumulate, to spend, then we get to a use-by date and we talk about the elder burden from that perspective. We would. And women are further down the hierarchy than men, so that, naturally it's going to, our worth is tied up with our appearance, our sexiness, our ability to sell and consume. But I also think there's some really strong counter things happening in this space right now. I mean, I'm modelling at my age, and there's... I
love that. And when she says model, not like scientific models, like she's a supermodel.
Not really.
She's a supermodel.
Just doing little jobs. But there's a demand for women my age, which indicates that we're starting to see beauty in different ways. We are wanting to have older people be out there because, yes, they've got the money, but also they want to see older people. So there's definitely a change. And I was thinking about, one of the first times I was discriminated against my age, I was 22. And it was with June Daly Watkins. Do you remember?
Oh, yes. I remember June Daly Watkins. She said, don't shave your legs above your knees.
Did she?
That's what I remember.
Well, she was right, I'm sure. But I saw her once for a casting for a Japanese job, and she just put her hand on my arm and said, darling, you're too old, you're 22. Right? So yeah, the first time I was sort of discriminated in that way because they wanted 17, 18-year-olds, right? So I think it happens at any age, potentially.
Because isn't it funny from where we sit now?
Yeah.
At the stage in our life, like 22 is a baby.
No.
And so she was like going, 22 is too old. We want you to be 18. And you go, what's the difference between 18 and 22? You kidding me?
Yes.
So I was reading an article when I was researching this, and it actually said that you don't really begin aging until you're in your mid-20s. That's when you might start to get fine lines and things. So you go at 22.
Yeah, right.
Like there's no real difference.
No.
Let's get soulful on social media. Search the Sister Code Facebook page and follow us on Instagram.
That's crazy.
No.
I actually also, just let you know that I was, again, doing some reading, and I found an article that said in Australia that it's men and young people that are most ageist in their attitudes, which...
Yeah, and I think it's a very, it's a cultural thing, isn't it? Because there are certainly, like we know in France, for instance, the French men in general, look at their president, really appreciate older women.
Yes,
they see them in a different way, that they are sexy because of their experience and the way they, their confidence and that sort of thing. So it's interesting, isn't it? So perhaps we all move to France.
Absolutely. Well, do you know what? Over here, what you get called a cougar.
Yeah.
It's like there's this derogatory name.
Yeah.
So I remember walking through Randwick Racecourse. Actually, do you know what? I was 36. Mm-hmm. And I remember that because I had been, actually when I say Randwick, it was Rose Hill. I'd been at the McGrath Foundation race day And I actually was in the midst of my breast cancer treatment and I was wearing a long wig. And I remember as we were leaving, we were kind of like walking back to our hotel. We were staying in a hotel across the road from Rose Hill. And then all these young guys were walking past and they're like going, cougar, cougar. And I was like, I'm 36. Like, really? I'm a cougar, you know? But I go, like, why do we get called such a derogatory name? And it's like that they assumed that I was after them, that there was with a group of girls that we were after them.
Isn't that part of the
I know. I'm not looking at you. But men don't really get that name, not that I know of.
No, and, you know, women become all hags or cougars or whatever.
Or crones.
Oh, yes, that's right. Whereas men just become, you know, potentially more dignified, right? So, again, we've got an incredible bias there. So we as women need to not buy into any of that garbology, right?
Absolutely.
And support each other and supporting our beauty, our insight and our presence at any age. It's so important.
Yeah. And young women, if you're listening to this, that's especially you because one day you'll be our age.
Yes. And we will be welcoming you.
Yeah. Come join the club.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Charlotta, what is age shaming? And do you know anybody that's experienced it personally?
I don't actually, to be quite honest, which is, you know, interesting. I think part of, for me, my experience is because I'm self-employed and I have so many long-term clients and my area of expertise kind of sits with maturity a bit. I don't experience it. But, of course, I know from recruiters that it's a huge issue and lots of, you know, good women are passed up just by, and all feel they have to lie about their age and also actually go in and get Botox and various treatments in order to look younger, in order to still be relevant in the job market. And that is really, really sad because the research, as I'm sure you know, is super clear that actually mature women is one of the very, very best people you could possibly employ because there are no distractions, right? They can really dedicate themselves to the job and they have the experience. So they tend to be actually faster in the way they operate.
And in society, we have a tendency to look at Hollywood star and celebrity as to what is the way to be a woman or the way to dress, or we look to them for
ideals.
We look to celebrity for ideals of beauty. And so it's interesting. We were just chatting yesterday around Nicole Kidman, who's on the front cover of Vanity Fair wearing a super sexy little, I don't know if it's a maid or a schoolgirl sort of outfit thing. It's very, you know, very crop and a tiny little skirt. And she's a very lean woman and she's got, it's either airbrushed or she really does have amazing abs. Could be either, I don't know. But it's caused so much controversy. And it's interesting because you go, why? And it's because the articles that I read about it, they said because she's in her late 50s.
And what is the criticism? That she's
too old.
That she shouldn't be doing it.
She shouldn't be wearing that outfit. She's too old to wear that.
Right.
And it's funny because I'll be honest, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. They've got her in that. But I'm like, well, I guess she has
and why is it necessary? I mean, that would be the first question.
Yeah. So it's opened up this whole conversation around that. Why do they have her dressed like that? And if we had a girl in her 20s, which, you know, the article saying they had a photo of Zendaya wearing exactly the same outfit. And they're like, if she was on the cover wearing that,
no comment.
There'd be no comment around it. But because Nicole Kidman in her 50s is wearing it, it's like there's all this hoo-ha around it. And actually she has a very lovely figure. She's very lean. But it's kind of interesting that she's kind of being torn down for it. But if you had a woman in her 20s or 30s, it wouldn't have been an issue.
Yeah, I think it brings up lots of questions though. Like, you know, first one, why would you? You know, why is it necessary for an older woman to portray herself as young?
Yeah.
Because that is what it is, right? And there's a sadness in that, I think, rather than being your age. I mean, obviously, yes, she's very lean, but she also obviously spends an enormous amount of time staying fit and on you know, perky bottom and amazing arms and all that kind of stuff, right? So a lot of time goes into that. Now, it's her profession, so it's different to perhaps you and I, right? But I remember looking at my bottom in the mirror and thinking, God, it really is no longer like two balloons. It's more like a baby strapped to the back of my back. And do I want to spend a lot of time making sure it pops up? Like I would, you know, I've just spent a lot of time doing that. I thought, no, I actually don't. I actually don't want to. It's not that important to me. Right. So we have different priorities. I mean, to Nicole, it's important that she, you know, for her, that she looks like that. And we then have those sort of photos. is the same relevant for men?
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there more space for men to age?
Well, absolutely. And you have the examples of Sean Connery being in his 70s and being named, world's sexiest man, and older men really held up as being sex symbols still. But for women, it's like we have to do all this stuff to ourselves.
Yes, we have to still look young.
Yes.
That's the problem, isn't it? That you can't just look attractive, energized, enthusiastic about life and healthy for your age. That's not good enough.
Yeah.
Right? Because the wrinkles, you need to get rid of them, and you need to still have a perky whatever, and,
Now, I want to ask you about this quote. I read this quote in an article which is called The Pain and Beauty of Growing Old and Aging Gracefully. What do you think about this? The idea that women become less beautiful with age exists for the simple fact that women grow more powerful with time, and our culture does not yet find power attractive in a woman.
It's an interesting one.
It is. Yeah.
If we go, okay, let's go with that quote, right? Then I think one of the things is we become freer. So we become clearer and we become braver to go, you know what? I'm going to say my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm no longer beholden to the stereotypes. I'm no longer beholden to the idea I should be nice. I'm no longer beholden to all that oppressive stuff that our culture say of how women should be. I am now free to go, stuff it, fuck it, whatever, right? And that, I suppose, is a power. So potentially I think there's truth in it.
When I read that quote, I was like, I hadn't thought about it like that it was about a power thing. And I do know my experience in my 30s was that when I worked with older men in their 60s, that they were really quite derogatory to women older and younger in the workplace. It actually was quite disgusting and scarred me. And there was a woman who was older and she was quite outspoken about her thoughts and feelings about things, and they used to laugh at her behind her back. If we had phone-in meetings, they would turn her volume right down, just do awful things to her. And so when I read that, it reminded me of that moment of older men. And I go, I don't know why. Why were they threatened? Is it just...
They couldn't control her?
Yeah, possibly. And she was probably somebody who was quite outspoken, but she had good stuff to say. She was passionate. But they wouldn't do that to other men.
No.
If there was an outspoken man, they would just have it out at the meeting.
Well, think of all the derogatory terms that are, around, older women, from anything to witches to bitches to old hat. I mean, really awful, awful terms. And we don't have the same for men at all. So we need to not use those.
Want to fill your soul with more? Go to thesistercode.com.
Can I ask a question for you? Has personal attractiveness and or a change in your physical appearance, I mean, you've talked about your bottom. Thank you. Has it been an issue as you've aged?
Yeah, I think there's a loss. I mean, I think that the first thing is to say, I remember turning sort of 45, 50 and feeling much freer in that I wasn't attractive in the conventional sense anymore, and therefore I didn't have to worry about my safety, to be honest. That was a huge thing for me. Yeah. Like I had some incidents, as most women have had early in my life, where I was just always alert and always aware of, where you're walking, who you don't look at people, don't look at men in particular. Once I turned sort of 45, I can look at anyone, anytime. And I'm not perceived as flirting. I'm not perceived as wanting anything sexual. So that was the first thing I think where I thought, I actually felt it as wow, that's freedom. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's sad particularly when I look at myself doing videos and I go, oh my God. And my son said to me once, you look just dreadful. You've got to do something about this. You look so old and so terrible. And I went, oh, okay, what do I do? They said, the first thing is to get the right light. I went, oh, okay. But there's no shame in facelifts, Mum. I went, oh, okay.
Okay. Thanks, son.
Well, they're honest, right? Yeah. Or how they see it, at least. So, yeah, I think there is a loss. And I get facials and sometimes I think, really, Charlotte? I'm attached to the face looking as nice as I can make it look at this age. You? Yeah, I'm the same. Totally. I get Botox. I've been getting the Botox on and off since I was 36. Right. Because I read an article when I was 36 that said you need to freeze your face at 36.
And so they said you need to start having Botox at 36. Oh. So, and I'm not religious with it. I mean, I probably need to be more. Oh, look at me. Look what I'm saying. I need to be better with my Botox. And I do. But you know what's funny? I don't get filler or anything like that, but I do get Botox. And when I do, people will say to me, "Do you look fresh?"
Right.
And I think
that's nice. A nice feeling, isn't it?
So I get that reinforcement. And they go, and it's like, they look at me like, there's something different about you. And I'm like, I just don't have all my wrinkles on my forehead and my eyes showing. But it's funny. I've noted, I'm like, it's the little wrinkles around my eyes. I'm like, they're getting deeper as I get older. And I look and I'm like, oh, they look tired. And I use prescription retinol cream, probably 4 times a week. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to be at peace with it. My girlfriend says to me, like every birthday, I'm like, oh, damn, I'm a year older. And she's like, you've had cancer. You should actually be grateful. It's a privilege to be alive. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. And then when I think about everything good that comes with that, the wisdom being, you know what? And even after having had it like a good career and everything going, you have money now that you don't have in your early life. I can go on holidays. I have freedom. I have choice.
Yes.
I didn't have that when I was young.
No, and I think the other thing is, when we tend to, when we're younger, have a much stronger external focus. Yeah. And even on the appearance. Yeah. And I think, well, you don't have to have any mirror, Charlotte, actually. You can ask somebody else, are there funny hairs sticking out in funny places?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to look in the mirror as much. Because if you close your eyes, the experience is the same, irrespective of what you look like.
Charlotte, I got this new glass prescription, which I'm wearing now. And because my eyes are going, where are they going? No, sorry. My eyes are getting weaker. Anyways, so I went and got these new glasses, probably, I think it was in January. And then I got in the car and I put down the mirror under the visor, put down the mirror and I put on my glasses. I went, holy shit.
Yes.
I got wrinkles and hairs on my face I didn't know was there. I've been walking around with a permanent Instagram filter with my bad eyesight. I thought I looked amazing. I'm like, oh my God. Seriously, I was like, I've been living in this this bliss of bad eyesight.
Yes.
Thinking I look great, and I'm like, oh dear Lord. Anyways,
and probably, one of the reasons why it is hard at the moment is because of all the focus on photographs. Whereas, centuries ago there was no mirror. Yeah. You didn't know what you looked like.
Absolutely.
Which could have been a blessing, right? Seriously, in terms of us not being attached to it. Whereas I think now it's ramped up in every way.
And we were dead by 45, 50, so,
that's right. That's
right. Okay, my friend, how can we change the narrative about age?
Well, I think one of the things is that if we think of what a culture, how we kind of influence and live in a culture, then a culture that only wants youth or that only wants us, positive psychology, only wants us to be happy, it lives in immaturity. And there's a cost to that. So I think that we can start to speak from the voice of the older and value it and go, we need, in order to it's a bit like, the cycles. We have spring, summer, autumn and winter, right? What if we deny 2 of the seasons? It's insane.
Right? You wouldn't do that.
No, you wouldn't do that. Or we're denying aging. We're putting people aside and we're calling it the age, the older burden and things like that, rather than going, okay, so how can we integrate these people into having a voice in our society, having influence, getting their input so that we truly hear from everybody irrespective of the stage they're at. That would be the first thing. And then I think, for us all to not judge each other, whatever we do with, Botox or fitness or whatever, but just we're all in a journey of loss and grief. That is part of, not being dead, isn't it? In effect, that it's part of it. And also dial down perhaps the advertising and all that sort of, to dial down the pressure on how we should be so we are freer to be how we actually would like to be and what is most useful for us and our society and our families. Because I think that it's easy to become so attached to our appearance that we spend so much time on it, be that exercise, Botox and surgery and da-da-da-da-da. And, there are other things in life too that, and the world needs us. I think the world needs to hear from the mature women around, that perspective that isn't busy with kids, that it has well, you know what? It'll pass, darling. It's okay, right? And also, I was thinking, this sounds really radical, and you might cut it out because I know it's going to be not popular. But from an older person's perspective, where I sit now, I think we've lost the plot in quite a few areas. Like, I think IVF, for instance, I think we've lost the plot with that kind of thing. To think about what we put particularly women's bodies through in order to have a child. And there's research now showing that increases their children's risk of breast cancer, and that there's a much higher rate of autism. Instead of supporting people to accept we don't all have children, right?
Yeah.
We don't all have, we're not all blessed with not getting cancer. We have different conditions, and we have to learn to accept those conditions. Some of those more difficult and bigger conversations can be had by somebody from the outside, if you like.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying yes or no or right, wrong. I'm just saying it's a perspective that I'm reflecting on. We are overpopulated already, and I don't know if we've gone down the right road with this just because we can.
Well, thank you, my friend. Thank you for coming
pleasure.
and having...
Thank you for being curious about this incredible topic, and I think there is so much more to talk about.
Oh, absolutely. You know? And I'd love your thoughts. If anybody has any thoughts or input, please email me at melissa@thesistercode.com. And Charlotta, quickly tell us, you've got a mindfulness retreat coming up in August.
Yes. It's so exciting. We're back at the Zen Resort where,
in Bali.
In Bali, the beautiful Zen. And it is a place where hearts get back online. And the idea of this retreat is really to deepen the mindfulness, but also to give birth to what is ready to become within us, to be curious about, after 2 years of a difficult time, what is your gift? What is ready to be let go of, and what is ready to be born?
Well, and I'm coming along.
I love that you are.
Yes. I'm trying to talk my husband into it. He's not sure, but I know I'm coming.
I love that.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for coming and having that chat. And please, anybody listening, reach out if you have any questions or, any comments. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, Don.
Thanks for listening to Hey Soul Sista with Mel Histon. What would help you on your crazy life journey? Email Melissa@thesistercode.com.